I sat in my car outside my own house, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. Inside my purse was a manila envelope from my sister's attorney. I hadn't opened it yet, but I knew what it contained. The executor had called me 3 days ago to say that Patricia had left me everything: 2 rental properties in Portland, her investment portfolio, and the antique jewelry collection our grandmother had given her. I thought about how I would tell Emily, my daughter. I imagined her face lighting up, maybe for the first time in months. Maybe this would help us rebuild what had been broken. I pulled into the driveway and noticed Marcus's car parked at an odd angle, blocking the garage. Again. I'd asked him twice this week to park on the street when they had friends over, but my son-in-law never seemed to remember. Or maybe he just didn't care. The house was supposed to be temporary. When Emily called me 2 years ago, crying about her layoff from the tech company, I didn't hesitate. She was my only child. Marcus had been let go from his marketing job around the same time. They'd lost their apartment in Oakland, couldn't make rent. Of course I said yes. My husband David had only been gone 6 months. The house felt enormous and empty without him. I thought having them here would help all of us. I was wrong. I gathered my purse and the mail, fumbling for my keys. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Multiple voices coming from inside. I glanced at my watch. 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. Emily said she had job interviews this week. Marcus claimed he was consulting from home. I opened the door as quietly as I could. The voices were coming from the living room, my living room, the one David and I had furnished piece by piece over 30 years. I set my purse down on the entry table and stood still. No, seriously, this place is amazing. A male voice I didn't recognize said. How much are you charging? $180 a night, Marcus replied. It's a steal for the neighborhood. We could probably get $250 on weekends. My breath caught in my throat. And the owner doesn't mind? A woman asked. The owner doesn't know, Emily said. I heard her laugh, that bright, carefree laugh I hadn't heard in so long. My mom, she's kind of clueless about this stuff. She goes to her book club every Wednesday. Takes forever. We just started listing the guest room on Airbnb last month. Easy money. Genius, the man said. How much have you made? Almost $6,000, Marcus said. We're thinking of expanding to the downstairs bedroom too. She never goes in there. It's basically just storage. That was David's study, where his books still lined the shelves, where his reading chair sat by the window. I couldn't move. I stood in my own hallway, frozen, listening to my daughter and her husband describe how they'd been exploiting me. Must be nice having a free place to crash and making money off it too, the woman said. It's not like she needs the space, Emily said. And honestly, after everything we've done for her since Dad died, she owes us. Do you know how much time we spend taking care of her? Taking care of me. I was 68 years old. I ran 3 miles every morning. I'd been an accountant for 40 years before I retired. What exactly were they taking care of? Plus, Marcus added, and I heard the clink of glasses, were they drinking my wine? When her sister kicks it, Mom's going to inherit a fortune. Patricia never had kids, never married. It's all coming to Mom, and Mom's going to share with us. We've already talked about it. Already spent it, you mean, Emily said, and they all laughed. I backed away slowly, opened and closed the front door loudly as if I'd just arrived. The voices in the living room went silent instantly. I walked in to find Emily and Marcus with 2 people I'd never seen before, all holding wine glasses. My wine glasses. From the cabinet David and I had bought in Italy. Mom, Emily said, standing up quickly. You're home early. Book club was canceled, I said calmly. Sarah's grandson got sick. I looked at the strangers. I don't believe we've met. Oh, these are friends from Oakland, Marcus said smoothly. They were just in the neighborhood. How nice, I said. I'm Margaret. This is my home. The couple looked uncomfortable. They left within 5 minutes, mumbling excuses. Emily and Marcus started cleaning up the wine glasses, acting like nothing had happened. I went to my bedroom and closed the door. Then I sat on the edge of my bed and opened my laptop. It took me less than 10 minutes to find the Airbnb listing. Charming guest room in SF Victorian. The title read. There were photos of my house, my guest room, my garden. The host name was Mark and M. They had 17 reviews, all 5 stars. Guests praising the hosts for being welcoming and accommodating. I scrolled through the calendar. They'd been doing this for 2 months, not one. 15 bookings at prices ranging from $150 to $220 per night. I did the math quickly. My accountant brain never stopped working. They'd made at least $9,000. Probably more. I called my attorney, James Chen. He'd handled David's estate. I trusted him. "Margaret," he said warmly when his secretary put me through. "I was so sorry to hear about Patricia. How are you holding up?" "I need your help with something else," I said. I explained everything. The Airbnb listing, the conversation I'd overheard, the situation with Emily and Marcus. He listened without interrupting. "How long have they been living with you?" he asked. 22 months. "Have they paid rent?" "No. They were supposed to contribute to utilities and groceries, but they haven't. I didn't want to push it while they were looking for work." "Are they looking for work?" I thought about Emily's supposed job interviews, Marcus's supposed consulting. I don't think so. "Margaret, I'm going to be direct with you. What they're doing is illegal on multiple levels. Operating a short-term rental without the property owner's permission, failing to report rental income, violating San Francisco's housing ordinances. And if they've been accessing your accounts or taking money beyond what you've voluntarily given them, that's financial elder abuse." Financial elder abuse. The words made me feel sick. "Let me look into your options," James said. "In the meantime, I need you to document everything. Take screenshots of that Airbnb listing, save all your bank statements, write down every conversation you remember about money. Can you do that?" "Yes," I said. "One more thing. Patricia's will. Have you read it?" "Not yet." "Read it today, before you talk to Emily about any of this." I opened the manila envelope after we hung up. Patricia's will was straightforward. She'd left me 2 rental properties in Portland, currently leased to long-term tenants, generating $7,200 per month in total income. Her investment portfolio with Vanguard, valued at approximately $800,000, and our grandmother's jewelry collection, which she'd had appraised last year at $65,000. There was a handwritten note paper-clipped to the will. Patricia's spidery handwriting, shaking from the cancer that had taken her. "Maggie, this is all yours. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty about it. You always gave everything to everyone else. This time, keep it for yourself. Buy that little house by the coast you always talked about. Be selfish for once. I love you." "Pa?" I cried then, sitting on my bed in my own house, where my daughter was secretly running an illegal business. I cried for Patricia, for David, for the life I thought I'd have, and the life I'd ended up with instead. That evening, Emily knocked on my bedroom door. "Mom, can we talk?" I let her in. She sat on the edge of my bed, picked at a loose thread on the comforter. "So, Patricia's lawyer called me," I said. "He wanted to make sure I'd received all the documents." Emily's eyes lit up. "What did she leave you?" I should have seen it then. The eagerness, the calculation. But I wanted to believe my daughter still loved me for more than what I could give her. 2 properties in Portland and some investments, I said carefully. "That's amazing, Mom," Emily said. She hugged me, and for a moment I let myself relax into it. "You deserve this. You've been through so much." "I was thinking," Emily continued, pulling back, "Marcus and I have been talking about our future. We can't live with you forever, obviously. Maybe you could help us with a down payment? One of those Portland properties, if you sold it, that could easily be enough for us to buy something here. We'd finally be able to get back on our feet." We'd be able to get back on our feet. After 22 months of free housing, after $9,000 in Airbnb income I wasn't supposed to know about. "Let me think about it," I said. Emily's face fell slightly. "Think about it? Mom, I'm your daughter. We've been helping you ever since Dad died. You'd be lost without us." "Helping me how?" The question came out before I could stop it. "How?" Emily's voice rose. "We've been here for you. Emotionally. Making sure you're not alone. That's worth something." "I see," I said quietly. Emily left my room, and I heard her talking to Marcus in the hallway. Their voices were low but urgent. I caught phrases. "She's being selfish. Typical. We've sacrificed 2 years." I spent the next 3 days documenting everything James had told me to. I found the property records showing I'd never signed any kind of rental agreement with Emily and Marcus. I found bank statements showing a pattern of small withdrawals I hadn't made. $50 here, $80 there, always under $100 to avoid triggering alerts. I found credit card charges for expensive restaurants and online shopping that weren't mine. I also found the emails. Emily had left her laptop open in the living room, still logged into her email. I wasn't proud of looking, but I looked anyway. There were dozens of messages between Emily and Marcus about me, about my situation, about how much they could reasonably expect when Patricia died, about how they needed to keep Mom sweet until the inheritance came through, about how they could maximize the asset by listing more rooms on Airbnb. One email from Marcus to Emily, dated 3 months ago. Your mom is basically a cash cow. We just need to milk this for another year or two, then we're set. I printed everything. I cried while the printer hummed. Then I dried my eyes and called James. I'm ready to move forward, I said. The eviction notice was delivered by a process server on a Monday morning. Emily and Marcus were eating breakfast in my kitchen, my eggs, my bacon, when the doorbell rang. What is this? Marcus said, scanning the document. His face went red. Eviction? You're evicting us. You have 30 days, I said calmly. I'm being generous. Given the circumstances, I could have given you 3. Circumstances? Emily's voice was shrill. Mom, what are you talking about? I pulled out my folder. Every screenshot, every bank statement, every email I'd printed. I laid them on the kitchen table, one by one. The Airbnb listing you've been running without my permission for 2 months. The $9,000 in income you didn't report. The unauthorized credit card charges. The withdrawals from my account. Would you like me to continue? Emily's face went white. Marcus looked like he might be sick. You were snooping through my email? Emily said. That's illegal. Actually, accessing my own bank accounts and noticing fraud is perfectly legal. Running an unlicensed short-term rental in my home without my knowledge isn't. We were going to tell you, Marcus said. We were making money to surprise you, to pay you back. By calling me a cash cow? By planning to milk me for another year? Silence. 30 days, I repeated, and I expect the house to be clean when you leave. They tried everything over the next 2 weeks, Emily cried, apologized, begged. Marcus alternated between anger and bargaining. They got a lawyer who sent me a letter claiming I was emotionally abusing them, that I was incompetent to manage my affairs, that they'd been serving as my caretakers and deserved compensation. James laughed when he read it. They're desperate. This is nonsense. But Margaret, you need to be prepared. They might actually take this to court. They did. Emily filed a petition claiming I was suffering from dementia and depression following David's death. She submitted a declaration stating that she and Marcus had sacrificed their careers to care for me full-time. She claimed they'd spent their own money maintaining my house and that I owed them at least $200,000 in caregiver compensation. The hearing was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, they refused to leave the house. They stopped speaking to me. Marcus blasted music at night. Emily left passive-aggressive notes around the kitchen. Running low on your coffee. Please replace the milk you drank. I moved my valuables to a storage unit. I had the locks changed on David's study and the master bedroom. I started documenting every interaction, recording conversations on my phone when they became hostile. James hired a geriatric psychiatrist to evaluate me. Dr. Rodriguez spent 3 hours with me, conducting cognitive tests, reviewing my medical records, interviewing my friends. Mrs. Chen, she said after the evaluation, I don't know who told your daughter you were incompetent, but they're wrong. Your cognitive function is excellent. Your depression symptoms following your husband's death were entirely normal and have resolved with time and therapy. There's absolutely no evidence of any impairment. The day before the hearing, Patricia's attorney in Portland called me. Margaret, I wanted you to know that the rental income from Patricia's properties will start being deposited into your account next month. The tenants are long-term, very reliable. You shouldn't have any issues. Also, the property taxes are $15,000 per year total, but that's more than covered by the rental income. You'll clear about $50,000 a year after all expenses. $50,000 a year in passive income. On top of my pension and David's life insurance and Social Security, I'd be more than comfortable. I could buy that house on the coast, Patricia mentioned. I could travel. I could do anything I wanted. I could be free. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Emily and Marcus sat with their attorney, a sharp-looking woman in her 40s. I sat with James. The judge was an older man with reading glasses perched on his nose. Emily's attorney went first. She painted a picture of a grieving, confused widow who couldn't manage her own affairs. She presented the eviction notice as evidence of erratic behavior. She argued that Emily and Marcus had provided essential care and deserved compensation. Then James stood up. He presented Dr. Rodriguez's evaluation. He presented my bank statements showing the unauthorized withdrawals. He presented the Airbnb listing and the reviews, with timestamps showing they'd been operating for months. He presented the emails between Emily and Marcus, discussing how to maximize their exploitation of me. The judge's expression grew colder as James talked. "Your Honor," James said, "this isn't a case of a daughter caring for an incompetent mother. This is a case of financial elder abuse. Mrs. Chen's daughter and son-in-law have been living rent-free in her home for nearly 2 years, while simultaneously operating an illegal short-term rental business and stealing money from her accounts. When Mrs. Chen discovered this and attempted to remove them from her property, they retaliated with a frivolous lawsuit designed to intimidate her and gain access to an inheritance that isn't theirs." The judge asked to see the emails. He read them silently, his face unreadable. Then he looked at Emily and Marcus. "I'm denying the petition," he said flatly. "The eviction stands. You have 15 days to vacate Mrs. Chen's property. Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the district attorney's office for investigation of possible elder abuse charges. You're fortunate, Mrs. Chen is a more forgiving person than I would be in her position." Emily started crying. Marcus looked stunned. Their attorney gathered her papers quickly, avoiding eye contact with me. Outside the courthouse, Emily approached me. "Mom, please. We're sorry. We made mistakes. Don't let them prosecute us. We're family. You stopped being my family when you called me a cash cow," I said. "When you turned my home into a profit center, when you lied to my face every single day." "Where are we supposed to go?" Marcus demanded. "We have no money." "You have $9,000 from the Airbnb rentals," I said, "plus whatever you stole from my accounts. Figure it out." I walked away. James walked beside me. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Like I can breathe," I said. They moved out on day 14. They took some furniture that had been in their apartment originally, some kitchen items. They left the house remarkably clean, actually. Maybe guilt, maybe fear of criminal prosecution. I didn't care which. The DA's office did investigate. Emily and Marcus ended up pleading guilty to misdemeanor fraud charges. They got probation, community service, and had to pay restitution of $12,000, the amount they'd stolen and earned illegally. No jail time, but the conviction was on their record. Emily sent me a letter 2 months later. It arrived at my new address in Portland, forwarded from the San Francisco house. I'd sold the San Francisco property for $2.3 million. The market was insane, but I wasn't complaining. I'd bought a small craftsman bungalow 3 blocks from the ocean in Cannon Beach. I could hear the waves from my bedroom window. The letter was 5 pages long. Emily talked about therapy, about realizing her mistakes, about wanting to rebuild our relationship. She said Marcus had left her, that she was working as a barista now, struggling to afford her studio apartment in Hayward. She said she understood if I couldn't forgive her, but she hoped someday I would. I read the letter twice, then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer in my desk. I didn't throw it away. I might read it again someday, or I might not. Patricia's jewelry sat in a safe deposit box at my bank in Portland. I'd worn one piece, our grandmother's pearl earrings, to the court hearing. I wore them again now, when I walked on the beach in the mornings, when I had coffee at the cafe downtown, when I drove up to Portland to check on the rental properties. The tenants in both properties were wonderful. A young family with 2 kids in one house, a retired teacher in the other. They paid on time, took care of the homes, sent me photos when they planted flowers in the garden. This was what rental property was supposed to be. Not exploitation, not deception. Just a fair exchange, rent for housing, everyone benefiting. I'd made friends in Cannon Beach. A book club that actually met weekly, not like the excuse I'd used in San Francisco. A walking group that hiked the coastal trails. A volunteer position at the local library. People knew me as Margaret, the friendly woman from California who'd moved up after her sister passed. They didn't know about Emily and Marcus. They didn't need to. Some nights I thought about responding to Emily's letter. I drafted responses in my head, but I never wrote them down. What would I say? I forgive you? I don't? Both felt inadequate. What I knew for certain was this. I'd spent 2 years being slowly drained by people who were supposed to love me. I'd been called clueless, been treated as an asset to be managed and exploited. And when I'd finally stood up for myself, they'd tried to paint me as the villain, as incompetent, as the problem. But I wasn't the problem. I'd never been the problem. I woke up this morning to rain pattering against my bedroom window. Patricia's jewelry box sat on my dresser, mahogany inlaid with pearl. Inside were the pearls, the garnet brooch, the sapphire ring our grandmother had worn every day of her married life. Patricia had worn them too, until the cancer made her fingers swell and she couldn't anymore. Now they were mine. The jewelry, the houses, the money, all of it mine. I made coffee and stood at my kitchen window, watching the rain fall on the garden. The rose bush I'd planted last month was blooming despite the weather. Pink roses, Patricia's favorite. My phone buzzed. A text from James. Morning. Just wanted to let you know the restitution payment came through. $12K deposited in your account. Hope you're enjoying the coast. I typed back, thank you for everything. Yes, it's beautiful here. Another text arrived. Unknown number. I almost deleted it without reading, but something made me open it. Mom, it's Emily. I know you probably won't respond, but I wanted you to know I'm starting therapy. Real therapy, not just what the court ordered. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. I stared at the message for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could write something. I could open this door again. Instead, I set the phone down. I finished my coffee. I put on my rain jacket and my walking shoes, clipped Patricia's pearl earrings onto my ears, and headed out toward the beach. The tide was coming in, waves crashing against the rocks. The air smelled like salt and rain. I walked for an hour, my shoes leaving prints in the wet sand that disappeared as the water washed over them. When I got back to my house, my home, I looked at my phone again. Emily's message was still there. I read it once more. Then I put the phone in my pocket and went to make lunch. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe I'd find words that felt true and fair. Maybe Emily really was changing, really was trying to be better. But today wasn't that day. Today I had a life to live, a life I'd built for myself after everything had fallen apart, a life Patricia had given me the means to create, had encouraged me to claim. I made a salad with vegetables from the farmer's market. I ate it slowly, savoring each bite. Then I opened my laptop and looked at flights to Portugal. I'd always wanted to see Lisbon. Patricia and I had talked about going together someday, but we'd never made it happen. Well, I was going now. For both of us. I booked the ticket. 2 weeks from now, 12 days in Portugal, staying in small hotels Patricia had researched years ago. I'd wear her jewelry, carry her memory with me, and finally take the trip we'd always planned. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. At least for now. At least until I was sure I was closing them for the right reasons, and not just because someone was knocking. I looked out my window at the rain-soaked garden, at the pink roses blooming despite everything, and I smiled. This was enough. This life. This peace. This hard-won freedom. It was more than enough. It was everything.